Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Walker, a member of the public programs team here at the museum, and it's so grateful to have you with us for this special screening. Today we're excited to highlight our wonderful collaboration with the Smithsonian Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage. This partnership has allowed us to explore and share in the rich traditions and stories that have shaped our cultural landscape. And this makes this film very special because it's a celebration of the diverse heritage of New Orleans, its architecture, its ancestry, and its just overall vibrancy. The center, as well as the Folklife Festival, they play a vital role in preserving and promoting cultural narratives. And their commitment to celebrating diverse voices aligns beautifully with the work here at the museum, but also the themes of the film that we're screening today. But you're not here to listen to me talk, but I do want to bring out just a wonderful colleague who will introduce the film, and she'll also serve as our moderator for the conversation following the film. And that would be Diana Njai, who is recently retired from the Folklife Center, but she is now in a new role as a director of the African American Craft Alliance. And she'll share a few words of welcome with us, so please join me in bringing to the stage Diana.
Good afternoon. As Leslie said, I'm Dr. Diana Njai. I recently retired from the Smithsonian Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage, but couldn't resist coming back. Such a special program. And as you mentioned, this is a collaboration between the Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage and the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And we have to thank the museum for providing such an amazing backdrop to this film. And the film features participants from the 2025 Smithsonian Folklife Festival, who we'll get to meet here, but also after this program is over, we hope that you will go and go and see what they're doing and go and visit them on the National Mall. And this program is part of the Traditional Building Trades program and part of the festival's youth and the future of culture theme. Let me pull this down a little bit. We're so pleased that New Orleans is represented by Master Plasterer Jeffrey Poree, Master Blacksmith Darryl Reeves, and Mr. John Hankins, who is director of the New Orleans Mastercraft Guild. And they're with us today for the screening, and you'll see them also in the film. I'm also thrilled to announce before we start that the film was recently awarded the 2025 Best Humanities Documentary Film of the Year by the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. And this is an annual recognition, but you'll see why they got this. You'll see why they got this. This is amazing. It's produced by the Louisiana Architecture Foundation, and it was made possible by public and private donations. And we want to give special thanks to the Louisiana Office of Cultural Development, Division of Historic Preservation, and the Association of Architects in Louisiana. Now, we know you're going to remain seated and you're going to listen to our master craftsmen speak, but also we want to highlight that right after the credits, you will hear Master Mason Teddy Pierre, who is honored at this program as a master craftsman, to recite a poem by Marcus B. Christian called The Craftsman. And of course, stick around for our conversation. So we are ready to start, and I know you're going to enjoy this. Thank you. Give another round of applause for that film. Amazing, amazing. And we are so privileged to be able to have some of the stars of this presentation, of this wonderful film here who are going to join us on stage. And so I'd like to have Mr. Darryl Reeves come up. Mr. Jeff Poree. And Mr. John Hankins. And before I get started, first of all, thank you so much. Thank you. The other thing is that in the audience, before we get started, there are several other people who are in the film who we want to recognize, and we'd like them to stand. And there may be a few others, but I know Mr. Darryl's apprentice, Karina Roca. Will Holmes and Marsh, I think they may be down on the mall, right?
Oh, Marsh is here. Will
Marsh, oh, Marsh Poree, and historian Lynette Deloyd Johnson. And so we have a lot to talk about here, and I'm just going to say already, we don't have enough time. We could be talking here for about 5 hours, and what I know about folks from New Orleans, you all like to talk. So after this, we're gonna talk a little bit, and then we're gonna actually invite you down on the mall to have more conversations to see what these folks have brought with them to demonstrate. But I'm going to start off with Mr. Reeves, and wanted to talk a little bit about the 7th Ward, because it seems like that is like just such a rich, rich place to have grown up, and to have, and it's still a rich place. And I'm going to ask you to talk for about 3 minutes or so, and then Mr. Poree as well, and then we go to Mr. Jeff. Thank you.
Well,
Mr. John.
thank you everybody for coming. 7th Ward. 7th Ward's same place. My shop's not even 2 blocks away from where I grew up at. My neighborhood was an education in itself. I mean, our parents in the 7th Ward, I mean, they pretty much sheltered. They sheltered us because reality of what was going around was we knew of it, but we didn't really have to be involved with a lot of it, because in my neighborhood, I could not go 7, 8 blocks from where I lived at without somebody in my neighborhood that I didn't know. And that was just a community that I lived in. I couldn't do nothing outside of blocks away from my house without it getting back to my parents. I mean, me and Jeff, I mean, we was in the Boy Scouts together. We had different trades in our neighborhood, but the trades that, even though we had so many different trades, they all come together sooner or later. I mean, the jobs that I work on pretty much is the same job as Jeff work on. It's, we're gonna in other craftsmen that we have in our neighborhoods. I couldn't even mention them all right now. So.
Thank you. And what about you, Jeff?
Well, growing up in the 7th Ward, I really had a wonderful and happy childhood. We all did. It was, everyone we know is mostly a tradesman. All our friends in Graham High School, all the parents of different trades, our family and our friends. Really was a nice place. Everyone there is of mixed origin, and I think because of that, all the girls are really pretty, or look really pretty, you know, and that was interesting. And in fact, my wife is here, Carol. Our people are from the Seventh Ward as well. So, but I'll tell you something. It was real interesting. It's somewhat of a little closed society to try to keep you. We could only play with the children of our neighbors, our relatives, and the children of our parents' friends. So if my mother didn't know your mother, you couldn't come to play in our yard, and I couldn't go to your house, you see. Now, we fixed that with a phone call. So I had to get my mother to call, and all right, okay, and they connect the dots, and then everything is fine. But it was really an interesting place to grow up. Not a lot of crime, like I said in the movie, low divorce rates, a lot of family ties, a lot of closeness. My mother was in 3 different ladies' clubs, and all that was about having her sons meet your daughters and all that kind of stuff, you know. So every time it was time for my mother to have club meeting, I had to make an appearance. So, or one of my brothers, so they could talk all that stuff. But anyway, it was real interesting, and a nice place. All our neighbors, and I mean the whole place. It's kind of like having the whole world in your neighborhood, because in appearance everyone was from very fair to very dark. Everyone got along. Everyone loved each other. We had baseball teams at the playgrounds, and we had the park across from my father's house, and we learned how to swim in what was called the Nord playground. And we had no dissension. I mean, everything just went well from grammar school all the way through high school. I'm a St. Augustine graduate of high school, and I didn't complete college, but I did go to University of New Orleans, and so it was all quite interesting.
Okay. Oh, wow. Thank you. And, you know, I in the film, it mentioned Tutti, Montana. And I was surprised to find out. I got a chance to meet Darryl Montana. But,
A friend of mine.
yeah, well, the thing is that, you know, the point in the film that was made that these skills were not only the skills of the building trades, but it just taught that discipline, and it taught that artistry that transferred to the costumes of the other parts. I thought that was really, really interesting. It looked like you always
Yeah, but that's a lot to do with your family, your parents.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you could just ask her. I pick every little thing she do wrong.
That's good. That's the way you learn. Yeah. And John, you have been so much involved as an activist, making sure that this incredible community and these incredible trades keep on going. Could you tell us a little bit? Did you grow up in 7th Ward?
Everyone from New Orleans is laughing now because, no, they've just begun to accept me in the 7th Ward.
Okay.
But I did a history of the master craftsmen. 55 families did oral histories of 55 families who have been in the trades since, you know, the earliest days. His earliest family dating back to 1784. And most of them have migrated into the 7th Ward. And just like we have a lot of famous musicians who came out of Tremé and other parts of the city, the more famous craftsmen come out of the 7th Ward. For instance, Jeff is very modest, but his dad, Calvin, you saw this flash by some of the buildings in the state that these men worked on. And you saw a fleeting film of the skeleton of the Superdome, which at the time was the biggest building involving more concrete and stucco that had ever been built in the world. Well, his dad was the foreman of the plasterer for that. Also, Homer Plessy, Plessy versus Ferguson. The Plessy family, they were from the 7th Ward, and all of them from 1784 up until 1891, I guess, when he first tested the 14th Amendment. Everybody in their family had been woodworkers and carpenters except Homer. And he was a cobbler, a shoemaker. Our most recent famous person from the 7th Ward, whose great-grandparents grew up a few blocks on Annette Street from where Jeff grew up, is the new Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, whose great-great-grandparents grew up on Annette Street. And in the 1890 census, they were listed as black. So now everybody's like, we got a black pope.
A lot of people might not know this, but Andrew Young, he's out of the 7th Ward.
Andrew Young's out of the 7th Ward. Yeah. There's a lot of people. And all these families kind of have their roots in the trades because with Americanization, especially after the Civil War, these families found that being independent craftsmen gave them a little bit more autonomy that the social, Jim Crow laws took away. They were more independent businessmen.
Yeah, it's interesting, when I was looking at the section on the Code Noir and what happened after the Louisiana Purchase, it was interesting because it was very timely. Let me just say, it seemed very timely. But one of the things that I was interested in as well is the sustainability and the kind of theme of the Folklife Festival this year is about youth and culture and the importance of maintaining and continuing these traditions, as well as, and I would say as well as documenting them, but continuing them. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the technical things. Like, I know every craftsperson, when you're learning, there's stuff that you get right away, but you all make it look easy. But what were some of the biggest challenges, and when did you realize, okay, I got this? So
I could tell you right now. My family skipped a generation, is in the awning business, Andrew and Sons Awning Company. And I used to get serious migraines with my dad being so particular about what, how I created something. I mean, I used to measure things to fractions. He said, man, I used to irritate him with it. But I took one particular project where I actually had to come to D.C. I did an awning for Copeland's on King Street. And this awning actually sits over a glass. It's an arch, 120 feet arch on this building. If you're from D.C., you probably know this property. I came up here in the 80s and put this awning up. And the thing was so complex, I came up here, took the patent, went back to the shop in New Orleans, supervised fabricating this thing, getting it back up here, gave myself a week to install it. We installed it in about 2.5 days. And went back home and gave my dad that check. After that, my headaches disappeared. That was my graduation.
oh, wow, that's amazing. And yeah, I just realized that, in case you didn't realize, Darryl Reeves is a master blacksmith. And there's a whole history that goes back several centuries of that blacksmithing trade that leads from the Senegambian region, that whole region, Bamana, all the way to.
That's my grandfather on my mother's side.
All right.
My grandmother, his great-grandmother came here as a slave in 1803. And he was a blacksmith. My family property is in Donaldsonville on that side of the family. And he was a blacksmith on Sonoma Plantation. That's his 300 acres sugarcane plantation. And on the side of that, they have Paulata Plantation. That's another 300 acres. And my family property is smack in the middle. So if you ever pull up this location, you're gonna see a green spot in the middle, two big plantations, and my grandfather was a blacksmith on Sonoma. And as a kid coming up, we used to take and spend our summers out there, and we used to take and go off in the morning as a teenager, crawfish, and we would go off with our bow and arrows, our BB guns, and some in a pot, and we wouldn't come back till late in the evening because we spent the whole day. I mean, that was like my backyard. Okay. And we would take and spend a whole day. And my grandfather used to pass by where they would be repairing farm equipment. And, you know, a kid, like, this is your grandfather back there working on fire, doing this work. And when I came along in the 50s and 60s, he was up in age, so he was pretty much supervising stuff. But all he did was just run us away because he didn't want us around there. But I guess that's probably when I caught the bug.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. So, Mr. Poree, what about you in terms of the challenges and triumphs and challenges? What would you say in terms of learning the trade?
Well, it's what? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Well, when you're I'm from a union trade. My grandfather, Albert Poree Jr., ran the Plasterers Union for 36 years. And so I am multi-generational in the trade, but to answer your question, what was, I'll say my first challenge, I'll just tell you a little story. I've got a great body of work. I feel like this is my 49th year in the trade, I feel like I have a body of work second to no one, and we've worked hard to make everything really nice. But when you're being trained, they find a way to reject just about it, like Darryl mentioned. They try to reject everything you've done to improve the quality of your work. Teddy said the same thing. His dad tell him, you know, you got to work on it. My dad would tell me, you got a long way to go, you know. But one story in particular, my father used to maintain the Pontchartrain Hotel, which in New Orleans is the #1 hotel in the city as far as for, that's where the movie stars and wealthy people come. And every room in the hotel looks like it's in a palace. So we used to work weekends there. And I can remember one time in particular, we were doing the miters. We had put the moldings in, the crown moldings around the room. There's a wall part and the ceiling part. And we put them up. We used to make them in place then. But you got to do the corners by hand, which are called miters, just like when you connect wood together. So there's in corners and out corners. So one Saturday, we used to work till 1 o'clock. And don't go to lunch, just go home after. And I was assigned to do a corner. We had the in corner on the side of see, all these rooms have a fireplace. So you got the 4 corners in the room, the 2 in corners and the 2 out corners by the fireplace. So I was doing one side of the fireplace, and by 1 o'clock, I saw my father get off the scaffold. Now, in the time I worked on that in corner and the outside corner, my father did that corner, did those 2, and all of other corners, four corners of the room. Okay, so he made a noise, cleared his throat, and I know that's time to get ready to leave. I'm taking too long. So I got down off the scaffold, and I'm staring at this thing I did, and he walked over, and I said, God, I can't believe I did that. It was really beautiful. And I used to complain that every time we worked on the Saturday or any time I was with him, we're not going anywhere until my father lit a cigarette and walked around the room with this serious look on his face, looking at everything. And it might have taken 7 minutes, as I remember, waiting because I wanted to borrow his truck and get paid, to go on a date or something. But anyway, so I told him, God, I just can't believe I did something so beautiful. So he told me, so now you get it. So what my father was doing every time was admiring his handiwork, and he would, when he was a great craftsman, was still in order that he had the ability to do that. And everything we do, when you finish something, it kind of in a way makes you a little bit immortal.
Yeah.
Because you said, you can look, as I drive all over town, and my head's like on a swivel. I'm looking at buildings and I have memories. My father did this, or I think about when I was with him doing that. And I got my own memories after 49 years,
That's why it takes so long when you go anywhere with Jeff. It's like, you see that building there? Did you see that? Yeah.
I enjoy that. I could ride around the city and I see my work all over the place.
That's amazing. That is such an amazing thing. Gosh, again, we could make this go on forever, but I know you all have some questions, and I see one in the back. I think what we did, I hope that, we have someone who is coming around to give you a piece of paper to write down your questions, and hopefully they'll be collecting them, and then I'll read them up here. While they're doing that, I'm just going to ask one last question to you, John, and that's about if we come down. First of all, I had two quick questions. When are we going to see a New Orleans trade school? And I guess it's to everybody, but that we can explore after. But if people want to come down, is there a way to get a tour of these beautiful buildings, or to learn in the community, to visit some of the places where there's done? So I'm going to ask you, John, and then I'm going with your organization. And then.
Well, one thing I'd like to say, we have Karina here in the audience, and Will is out at the site, so I invite you to come down to the Folklife Festival. But there is optimism for the future, because these men and others in the city have really trained some people, and they trained them by working on some of the most unique buildings, I think some of the most interesting buildings in the country. And it's one thing that Jeff likes to say, I think he said in the film, he says that, they are the maintenance men of history. And that's true. But that history that they're the maintenance men of doesn't come with instruction manuals. You can't read how to teach yourself how to work on these places. And even if you thought you could, believe me, the Archdiocese is not going to hire you to work on the cathedral. So you have to learn by working on those properties, and the only way to do it is to work with people who do it. So our apprenticeship is one that is the old school on-the-job training apprenticeship, which is a difficult model. We alluded to it in the film. Right now, if you want to get kind of this really high-end training, instead of being paid to be an apprentice to learn it, you have to make a financial commitment to pay to learn these trades. And so in our communities, that's sometimes very difficult for people to make 6-digit commitments over the course of a few years to pay tuition and or workshop fees while they are a journeyman. So it's important that we try to maintain an ability to support the independent, highly trained, highly skilled, highly respected master craftsmen like Jeff and Darryl here. And our approach is just to help to subsidize the training of the apprentices and also to provide a little bit of the soft skills that's necessary. However, you know, getting people to eat crawfish and fish and drink a few cold ones on Friday is also mandatory.
Thank you. I think we're gathering the questions, and I think that they're going to be here really soon. I just wanted to see in the audience, I think that there are quite a few folks from home.
Can I just point out Teddy's sister, Julie, and his nieces in the audience here. Teddy Pierre, unfortunately, did not get to see the end of the film. He was 2 months shy of us putting it together. And so, here she is, right here. Please stand. You're in the light.
Oh, please stand up.
And we also have some people from Cane River. Where is he? From the Creole. Yeah, there he is, back there. We're going to do a screening on the 18th at Cane River. So.
Yeah.
We
So,
also have a couple of friends in from Colonial Williamsburg.
Yes.
This
Oh,
young
that's-
lady.
all right.
And Ken,
Madeline did Karina is doing an internship at Colonial Williamsburg this summer, learning from stand up, come on,
Yes. Stand
Ken
up, y'all.
Schwartz, who is a 49-year master blacksmith at Colonial Williamsburg. He's a
Wow.
legend.
Wow. Wow.
And Madeline did a 1-week residency with our own legend, Jeff Poree, down here. But Madeline is an apprentice brickmaker.
Fantastic. Wow. Well, we have a wonderful audience as well as wonderful folks up on stage, and we wanted to hear the questions. Here's the first one. Are there any tools that were invented by your ancestors or enslaved folks that the craftsmen never got acknowledged for? That was the first question.
that's a good question, but we make so many different tools. I mean, I have a few I have brought with me that I developed. We develop tools strictly for projects you might be working on at the time, and you develop them, and after you finish the particular project, you put them on the side, and it might be 2 years before you have to use it again. But in my line of work, we make tools all the time, and I don't think we ever, I've said myself, I should make a patent on a couple of them, but just not that many of us around anymore. I can't.
By the way, if you own a Chevy truck axle, don't show him because he likes to use those to make his tools with.
That's good.
Yeah, that's kind of regretful, but I don't really. If they had them, they probably, in my line of work, they would have used them and just put them to the side, wouldn't have never, and no telling what might have happened.
Okay, well, we're going to come over, after the presentation. I know you're going to get a lot more questions about that, too.
Can I just say, that whole thing about Solomon Williams from up at Cane River, here in this very museum, they have that cross that he had in his downstairs there in the antebellum
Yeah,
floor
not here.
down there. So they have the Solomon Williams cross that you saw in the film down.
Did you bring that copy?
I didn't
Copy of the
bring it,
cross?
No. No, but Darryl has, well, you can tell him.
Yeah, last year when I was at Colonial Williamsburg with Ken, We actually made a copy of the cross that they have here in the museum because of the workmanship that was in it. I felt it was necessary to fabricate that piece. And I think we did a pretty good job at it.
That's
It
amazing.
did it in 2 days.
That's amazing. Okay, here's another question. I'm going to ask Jeff to start out on this one. Have you helped people rebuild their homes after Katrina?
Well, I had so much work for Katrina. After Katrina, I had a 7-year waiting list. It
7
took
years.
7 years to get everybody done. And I literally had people that waited on me that lived in hotels and lived with families. There's a lot of people in New Orleans who have these huge big homes in uptown New Orleans that have been in the family for 100 years, 200 years. And I inherited a lot of families as customers. People show me often my father's name and phone number. They put everyone that, when they sell a house or it goes to another family member, everyone that does maintenance on the home, your names are listed on the return there in the air condition, which are usually, they're so old, they're either plywood or something before plywood. And my father's name is there with his phone number, 94 Whitehall, 94, what is it? Whitehall,
Yep.
9477772. And right under his name is my name and my phone number. Okay, and I'm talking about maybe probably have 200 customers that we do all the maintenance on their homes.
And that's
So 7 years to do the Katrina list.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Wow. We're going to get to another one, which is what is being done to help get kids excited about the vocation and trades in New Orleans. This is from Eric. Brand.
Pretty much what we're doing right now. One of the main reasons I do this is to introduce blacksmithing to young kids. A lot of people don't even know what a blacksmith is anymore, and that's the truth. And introducing this trade and getting people interested in it is pretty much my goal right now.
That's great. That's an important goal. Thank you.
Well, you know, we've had kids. John gets sometimes gets groups of kids through different schools and agencies, and we'll get them a busload at a time, and we'll visit my shop, Darryl's shop. We'll go on job sites with them, and we just want them to get exposed to that. So we show them what people think is the glamorous side, all the pretty stuff. That's hard work too. But so we'll get them in the shop, and we've got a lot of success stories. And the fun part was once we really have people that we're training. And my wife's a professional school teacher, so all she talks about every day are the kids. Okay, and she's still working every day, as am I. And once I got involved with training people, and it's a wonderful thing to teach and to see a success story. When you get out to the mall and you see Will making things out there, that's what he's doing right now. His grandfather helped to train me. I worked side by side with him. What I learned from him is what a day's work is.
Wow.
He wasn't a fancy guy, but he was what we call a slugger. He worked hard, and you have to have men like that do the heavy lifting. And then we have the prima donnas that do all the fancy stuff. There's always a little bit back and forth with that. But who makes the money for the company are really the guys that do the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, Will came to me, speaking of Katrina, Big Wilford, the grandfather, brought his son to work one day, and he says, okay, my son's ready. So he stayed with us about 5 years. We trained him. He went off on his own. At some point, he became a renovator and build new homes. So Katrina comes along. My younger brother, who's in the trade, asked me to give him some advice on one of his jobs. And I got out there, so who's this young man? I don't know. Said, that's Wilfred's grandson.
Wow.
I said, well, he can't do labor work. That's what he was doing, labor work. I hadn't seen him at all because his father had passed. And I told him, look, you pick anybody I got you want, but he's got to come to me because I owe his grandfather. Okay, and that's the incestuous relationship we have from the 7th Ward tradition in New Orleans in every trade. Everybody's going to bring their people in, and I found him doing labor work. He's a fine craftsman right now. He's making something as we speak.
Wow.
So he's been with me, and he's brought him here because he's one of my stores. You know, and just like I mentioned, it's the young man I mentioned when he's at work. I'm his father.
Yeah.
He's a fine
Then
man.
we have Karina here, and
Yeah, Karina, could you
she's like a
stand
real
up, please?
inspiration for blacksmith. And when people see her, I'll tell you a funny story. We were last year at Colonial Williamsburg, and there was this family. They were from D.C. You all know what a black D.C. kind of Gold Coast family looks like? Y'all know what I'm talking about? You know, they both lawyers and got a little girl, you know, with them. And they saw her working on that forge and everything. And that little girl, she must have been about 4 or 5. And she looked at her and she was like, I want to be just like you when you grow up.
Aww.
Yeah, but y'all know what her mother looked at her? Yeah, so we might even have some Gold Coast lady blacksmiths because they're inspired by.
But I've trained a lot of apprentices, and the one good thing about it, they come into my shop, especially where I'm at in the 7th Ward now, and I bring young men in. I can't even call them kids no more, but I bring young men in there in my shop that's they have a good head on their shoulder that's struggling, and I could take and put a trade in their hand. And the good thing about it, even if they irritate me to the point to where I have to fire them, they still have a trade that when they leave my shop, they can actually support themselves and their family. So for the good or the bad, you come into my shop, if you spend any time in my shop and you could tolerate my discipline for any period of time, you're gonna leave out my shop better than what you came in. And if anybody wanna know if how difficult I'm in, all you gotta do is ask that young lady.
Oh, wow. Wow, no, that's incredible. I mean, I call myself a craft evangelist because I do feel that craft can save the world and save, you know, a lot of the folks, young people especially, you know, whatever you do, if you learn to do something with your hands, you're also learning to do something with your head and with your heart, and nobody does anything completely by themselves. So you need a teacher, you need a mentor, you need folks around you, you know, like coworkers, and you need eventually some mentees, some folks who you're going to pass it on to. So, I guess one of the things which was one of the last questions here is, will this documentary be on PBS? I hope so, or everybody needs to see this. Don't you agree? Yeah. So the question, will this be on, how can people see this film? I'm not going to say PBS, but how can people see this film?
We are negotiating.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we really are. So we're submitting it to a couple of film festivals and for a prize or two first, but yes.
Yeah.
We hope to have it either on PBS or on a streaming service, maybe History Channel or Discovery.
All right. That's great. And since we brought up Karina, who is doing work that is traditionally associated with men, what about women in the trades? I'm going to ask that question because that's, in Senegal, a friend of mine, she's a metalsmith, Karen Smith, and she said that when she went to Senegal, they said, well, you know, women do not wield the hammer. Women do not wield the forge. And she started an organization called We Wield the Hammer. But, you know, a lot of the building trades were traditionally something that menfolk did. Or how is that changing? How's that? And I'm going to ask Jeff. You start first because I know Darryl. I know you're working with Karina. So
Okay. I've had women plasterers. I had a lady latherer that her husband trained. And in my younger life, that's a while ago, I had a bigger business, and I was a terror. I was very chauvinistic, even towards the older men, because I had to go through all this hell with these guys, and it was my turn to get my chance to get back. So I used to, before I'd hire one of these older serious craftsmen, I'd ask my father, what is his weak spot? And he'd say, well, Lionel doesn't like to do miters. Well, they used to, I was young, and I was the boss, but they'd call me boy, or everything disparagingly. Don't tell me what to do. I was doing this before, I'm getting to the ladies, doing this before you were born. So I tell them, okay, let me show you how to do that since you're a little slow. So I'd do it, and then to try to get them to have respect for me. So I'd show them I could do it better than him, if that was the case, you know. But anyway, one day I learned that that was wrong to be that way. I didn't know any better. So when I found out that I was chauvinistic, and it was a terrible thing, because I wouldn't take anyone's opinion. It was do what I tell you or go to get a job somewhere else. So when I loosened up and found out that it was good to share things and plan things together, everyone worked for me would come to us, all of a sudden started coming to work to the shop at 6 in the morning. And by the time they left at 6:45, we'd made 4 12-pot cups of coffee, and we round table everything, okay? And then better than that, I started hiring women. But when I was chauvinistic, my wife, Carol, heard me on the phone talking to one of my buddies. I said, well, yeah, my best man is Burrell, because her husband, John, has trained us so good. And I made the mistake of saying, and I pay $5 less an hour. Okay? Worst thing I could ever said. But in the end, it helped me. But by the end of the week, she was making the same as the guys.
all right.
It's just
Thank you.
so I could sleep at night. Okay? But once I learned and I changed, I ran into 1 or 2 young ladies that started learning the skill, and I asked them to come with me, and they stayed for a couple of years till they moved on. One thing I learned about women, hiring women, which if one walked in the door, either to learn or with a skill, I'll put them to the front of the line. I'll tell you something I learned about women. You give them a job to do, you better get out the way, because they're going to run over you doing it. You see? Now, the only adjustment we had to make, bringing women to work in a man's world at that time, okay, was that to get everybody together. And I'd say, all right, everybody, repeat after me. I say, good morning. They look at each other, they look at me. I said, say it. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow. And I said, that's the only thing you're going to say to these women. We got women, we got ladies coming to work. They're not here for y'all entertainment. You could lose your job if you say one wrong thing.
All right.
You know? But I'll tell you, it's been a wonderful thing to become a better man and to learn these things, you know?
Jeff, tell them about Mr. Barthay's daughter, Terry and Trudy.
Before you go, I just wanted to, just so we make sure we have enough time, I just wanted to ask now, so your experience. So is Karina the first woman you've hired, or
Nah.
is this?
Nah, not even. I've had experience young ladies come to my shop that actually had the language, And one of the first things I ask is, through experience, I ask them to look at their hands, especially if you say you got experience. And I had this young lady one time came to me. She was from up here, she was from New York. And out of the conversation, I could tell her she was a blacksmith. She understood the language. She understood how to do stuff. But her hands, she wasn't in production. Production is a different scale. I mean, when you're in production, you swinging that maul, you're gonna get blisters.
Got those blisters,
You're
huh?
gonna get burns in your forearm. Anyway, I took in, I had just one project. In fact, you saw the project in this piece, that fence was done probably 20 years ago. And I had all these rings to make. And I put her on a back forge and gave her an opportunity to try it because she had the skills. And I told her, I mean, I'm gonna bring you in here, but I don't know if you're gonna last because of from what I see on your body and what I could tell that you could do the work, but your body not telling me the same story. Anyway, she made all the rings by the end of the week. And she came to me and she said, Mr. Reeves, I'm glad you gave me the opportunity, but when she looked at herself, she was, women are, you have to love doing what you do. But she was blistered up. She had burns on her. And the thing about it, she stuck it out. She told me she was gonna make those rings for me, and she made the rings. But she had the sense enough to say she can't push production, you know, and that's a different story. And you have to be somebody like this young lady here. You have. I brought her in my shop, and when I asked her, she looked at me like I was crazy when I asked her to look at her hands. But I gave her the opportunity, and I told her to take and come in if she wanted to take, and because she was, when you're talking to somebody, especially after doing as long as I am, you don't want to bring just anybody into your shop because that costs you your money. So I told her I'll take and give you the opportunity. You're going to come in the shop, you're going to clean up. When somebody else need a hand, you're going to take and they're going to ask you to give them a hand. You're going to give them a hand, and you're going to start working with whoever's in the back of the shop that need help. And she came in there. How long you did that? But she came in, and she came in there for 6 months working on a salary that was basically a test salary. If we made money, she got paid. And after that 6 months, she surprised me. She surprised me. She stuck it out.
All right.
And that was 3.5 years ago.
Wow. So, John, you had something that you were gonna talk about with.
No, I was going to say that one of you were asking about females in the trade. Well, two things. One, in New Orleans, you saw that whole history. Lynette, as a historian, could talk to you more about this than me. But there's a tradition of the women in these families were like the developers, and they were ran like the real estate and realty and developer, and they were, you know, renting and leasing properties and things like that. So they were kind of the front end of a lot of these family businesses, and the men were the craftspeople. But we had a really good friend who passed away, who was a Smithsonian fellow, who came up here to the Folklife Festival in 2001. I guess when they did the building trades, Mr. Earl Barthay, when he passed away, his daughter, Terry, was a good friend of ours, took over the trade. And I mean, this is a legendary family that was run by Terry Barthay.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, It's also good to know that this tradition of the festival and the connection, the New Orleans Masters of the Building Arts is also continued and continues to be represented. I have to give a shout out to my colleague, Marjorie Hunt,
Yes,
whose passion
Marjorie.
has been the building arts and who has done so much to bring attention on the nation's capital, as well as through her films, to the importance of the building arts. And she's a wonderful person, wonderful colleague and friend too. So yeah, so we're almost through now, and I just wanted to, before we go, give a quick reflection to Mr. Terry Reeves to give some recognition to him, because I knew that he was, and did I say correctly?
Teddy Pierre. Yeah.
Teddy Pierre, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Teddy Pierre, who would have been up here
Yes.
had he been there, so had he been here, but I know he's looking down and saying y'all did good. So, but this field is so important to not only the present and the past, but also the future. And the symbol that you use a lot, the Sankofa symbol. That's one of the symbols.
That's one of them. It's,
One of them.
It's a Dinka symbol. It's out of West Africa.
Yeah, the Adinkra symbol that comes from Ghana, people of Ghana, which you can go over and see samples of the work.
Yes.
There means, go back, do not forget the past. It's a bird facing his tail. But I think that it does apply to what we're talking about up here. It does apply to our, to what this whole building's about, as well as to the future. So I want to have folks give a last sentence or so about that you'd like to tell the folks out there, and then come and visit us on the mall.
Well, Dinka symbols is it's always when you walk, especially in New Orleans. I mean, it's all over. I mean, Africans came here, and the misconception is they came here out of the jungles of fighting animals. That's a lie. There was a lot of them was well educated. You had 5 great countries in Africa that was just destroyed, and from the beginning of from the gunpowder. But the bottom line is these symbols are all over the city and it's all over this country. And this was the only thing they could bring with them, since they couldn't bring nothing else with them but what was in their head, in the education they had, with the trades, and what they survived with from their home. And once I found out about these symbols and understood where they came from, even though they're beautiful pieces of artwork, that's them talking to us from the past. And the thing that I could do is keep the conversation going. So I'll make it a point to take and make a beautiful piece of ironwork and have this language in it. And that's what I do for it.
Thank you. Mr. Poree. Last words to our audience for now.
Well, thank everybody for coming, for taking the time out today. We really are delighted about this, and it was a wonderful thing to get asked to be a part of something like this, And truth to form for us, when you're in construction, and this happened to me, and I tell this to these young people, sometimes we drive by things we've finished or we're involved in, and it's like the day it happened to me. I can't believe I was a part of things that are so big and great. For instance, like even building a building like this. Can you imagine being a kid and you're being trained and you get to work on something great and grand like this? And it's a wonderful thing to realize that you're just at the beginning and you're learning how to be a part of something that's going to live forever. So all over town, when I take these kids, I tell them I have a good memory of this, and I tell them, you know, we're right around the corner from your first job or these different things, and I'll detour and we'll look at it. And so our mission now at this point, I don't have to worry about work. If I wake up in the morning, if I live to be 100 or 200, I'll have work to do. My phone rings every day.
His phone rings every minute.
Yeah. So I don't have to worry about that, okay? I've got, for the time being, enough skilled men to do just about anything we get hired to do. But our mission at this point of our life is, I didn't think I'd be doing this because everybody's got their secrets. But at this point in my life, I want to share information. I don't want to take what I know to the grave. I want to pass on what I know from 49 years on the job and from talking to my father at the dinner table, because we talked about technique and different things. And it's great to just be a part of that. I know what I was born to do. I'm doing it. You know, I might have wanted to do something else, but I'm very happy doing what I do. I made 75 2 weeks ago. And if I wake up in the morning, I'm going to work with what my mission now. I don't have to worry about anything else. I want to get enough people trained to keep New Orleans up and running, or even the whole country or the world. You know, so that's what we want to do. That's his mission too.
I agree.
We could both be retired and be home, but we got a lot to go and a lot to do, and we need young people to do it.
Thank you so much.
That's our mission now in life.
Much. And let's finish up with Mr. John.
What they said. No, thank you all for coming. It's really an honor for us to be here. And really, what we really are trying to do is to identify more young people that can take up the trades, especially young people of color, to realize that this hour, you know, we should be proud of our heritage of people who built some of the finest examples of architecture and culture in our city, in our country. A good friend of mine, John Michael Vlatch, is fond of saying that the work that master craftsmen do creates the context in which all other civilizing acts are allowed to happen in. And that's what we do. And so we are looking for people who can come in and take up the reins and move our culture forward. So come out to the mall and talk to these young people. Because we got a prime example right here. You're going to see more of this young lady, I tell you, Karina. She is a star in the making. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to give a thank you so much. It's been an honor. And yeah, we'll see you on the mall. We'll see you out on the mall. Thank you.